A strategic partnership, funds raised, and the release of analytical lab results, all from Empire Metals. It has been a hectic start to 2024. And to find out more, I'm delighted to be joined by the Managing Director, Shaun Bunn. So, new year, new relationships, Shaun. So, this strategic partnership with Transoceanic, they're shareholders now by way of the placing. But what do they really want from the relationship?
Well, the relationship with the principal behind Oceanic is a gentleman, a Saudi called Fayyad Tamimi, and he was a shareholder, one of our original shareholders, very early, a cornerstone investor in the company, and he's never sold a single share in all this time. So what we're actually doing is welcoming him back, and he's taking quite a reasonable. Obviously he's taken up most of this strategic placement, and I think that's a really, really positive, powerful sign that we now have. The company Empire is starting to get completely re-rated, and people are starting to understand the potential of the Pitfield, this giant mineral project that we're now starting to, not just explore, but we're starting to look at how we can develop. And I'll just finish on one point. This particular gentleman was the CEO of Worley Parsons, Saudi Arabian operation. He's one of the co-founders, and has done some very big construction and engineering contracts within the Saudi industry. So he comes with a lot of credentials and a lot of experience in major construction projects.
So you've ticked off my next question, which was going to be, talk to me about the credentials, about him and the business that he's the figurehead of. So let's skip on to what that strategic placement will be used for. So funds, are they being devoted to a third RC drilling campaign? Because obviously there was a second announcement all to do with the lab results. So I'm assuming that the two are affiliated with each other in some way.
Well, yes, and not just another RC drilling program, because one of the things that's critical now as we move forward, and certainly on the with the confidence from this particular program we've just announced, which had excellent results, the idea now is that we can quickly accelerate and start to define within this massive mineral system, shallow, high grade, targets that we can look to bring into a development scenario. And to do that, it's not just about drilling, of course. We have to get the metallurgical sampling, the mineralogy. We're looking at infrastructure requirements, access. There's a whole raft of things that we're now going, oh, hold on, let's start working this out, in a much more holistic sort of, framework. Let's not just be an explorer and drill holes and announce RC results. I think the market has now realized that every hole we drill into this giant is going to be enriched in titanium. We're only going to get so far by keep drilling. I'm really excited by these drill results. 40 holes drilled, nearly 6,000 meters of drilling. Every hole from surface to the end hit titanium mineral, and every meter in between the surface and the end of the hole. It's an extraordinary outcome, and one that I think people will be very hard pressed to find its equal.
I'm just wondering about your mind mapping that's going on now, because is the focus now on Pitfield, which you have described as the biggest thing on the planet in the past? What about the rest of the projects? How are you managing them? Or are you parking them now?
Parking's probably not quite the right word. We have obligations under licenses and tenements to maintain them in good condition, and we do so. Walton, for instance, we've already commenced field work. We did a reconnaissance mission up there just before Christmas. We're waiting for some sampling to come back from that before we can make further announcements. The Eclipse project, where we had the original high-grade gold targets, we have definitely put that on the back burner for the time being, and that's only common sense that we do so. We spent a fair bit of time and effort there a few years ago, and those tenements are in good condition. We don't need to rush back. And the Victorian tenements, the last of the Century projects that we took on back in April 2022, is still going through its final, approval process. So in actual fact, whilst that hasn't yet, been completed, it also means that we haven't been, spending exploration funds on that project just at the moment. So simply put, we'll continue to maintain the other projects in a steady, sensible manner, and put all of the other focus into Pitfield.
Yeah, understood. Because when you were brought into the team, your job was to prove up Eclipse, but here we are a couple of years on, and no one could have anticipated that Pitfield was on the horizon. So you're very good at anticipating the 3 million funds before expenses that have been raised. That won't last very long. So I'm just wondering what you're going to do when those funds are extinguished, or are you looking for further strategic partnerships, or has Transoceanic got deep pockets?
Yeah, there's multiple questions in that quite difficult to answer at this point in time. I would point out that back in September last year, when we had the our regular interim results, that we reported that we had £3.8 million in cash in bank, and we haven't done a lot to exhaust that funds that we had post the September raising was all aimed about doing the current programs that we're undertaking. The one before Christmas, this next drill program, were pre-funded. So this strategic sort of positioning of ourselves right now is really to set up the back end of the year so that we're strong, we're confident, we have ticked a lot more boxes on the pathway to getting a development story going. And what 2025 holds for us is a lot of I could speculate. The reality is that we need to continue to focus on demonstrating that this titanium discovery has massive value. It's not just a giant scale mineral system, it's a giant scale titanium project that is going to shake up the industry. To do that, we need to advance towards, basically, I think, a small demonstration type plant. Let's prove to the world that I can dig up the ore, process it, and make a product. So, I think the strategic, the Saudi investment per se isn't necessarily, these are private investors. It doesn't mean there's a big, a big checkbook sitting right behind them. But as I said, Mr. Tamimi comes from a construction background. The Saudi have been operating in the titanium industry for decades. They've got a titanium smelter. They have invested through their original company called Crystal, which now is part of Tronox, a big American-based titanium company. They have mines and projects all around the world. So, titanium is not a new commodity for the Saudis, and one that I think they really have strategically invested in, and we hope they continue to do so.
So finally, Shaun, you said it's going to shake up the industry. You've got to be careful what you wish for there if lots of people want to come and clamber all over your turf. What do you mean by that? Are you talking about the industry or a new economy?
Well, there's the industry in itself, which is predominantly made up of mineral sands producers and some major big hard rock miners. Generally the industry all focuses on the titanium oxide route, getting to a pigment, getting into the, making paints and all the products, that the pigments go into. But people also forget that titanium metal is a very critical element. It's a critical metal around the world, and it's used in the aerospace, it's used in medical uses, it's used in defense. So there's a lot of strategic reasons why titanium metal sits on the one of the most wanted lists of the US, Europe, Japan, Australia even. So I'm looking for I look for the opportunities that presents. And when you've got a massive, large scale resource in a jurisdiction like ours, which is secure, there's no geopolitical risks, we're close to infrastructure. I think we've got a big role to play in the industry in years to come, and I'm looking forward to. We're starting that journey. We're looking forward to continuing that in 2024.
Many thanks. Shaun Bunn, Managing Director of Empire Metals. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.